I'm here today with my friend, DonTae Smiley. Is that right?
You said it perfect.
Thank you.
With some pizzazz,
So he's a
actually.
rapper, he's a pro wrestler,
Yep.
and now on Pro Slap.
Yep.
That's how it says?
Power slap. Yep.
Power Slap. And you're going to talk a really nice things today about life and a lot of stuff from his book as well. If you guys don't have it, after this conversation, you're probably going to be very interesting to get this book. So I'm gonna have a lot of questions from this book,
Okay.
and of course, any of those questions, people are not like they're gonna get curious about to know more about you. But
Yeah.
the same way I did when we first met, I had
Right.
like a lot of stuff that I want to ask you. So I asked you, just let's get some podcasts one day so I can ask those
Right.
questions. Like, so I am so happy for you to be here.
Thank you.
Like, thank you so much. And tell me about DonTae Smiley as a person.
Oh man, if I had to describe myself, I would describe myself as the ultimate modern day like Renaissance man.
Okay.
As far as the things that I do, I always call them like coats. Like when I have conversations with people, I'm like, what I do is just a coat I wear. It's not, it doesn't define me per se. It's just part of the story type deal. I put it on and take it off. And because more than anything, like what I'm bred to be, obviously father, husband, and just a spiritual warrior and the things that I do for the kingdom of Christ and everything, and just being that kingdom example in everything that I touch. And I like making sure that whatever it is that I touch, I'm exuding that in every sense of the word and showing people that they have the permission to fulfill whatever it is their purpose in life is. Because the one thing I've realized in all the things that I do, whether it be wrestling, whether it be power slap, whether it be my musical journey that I went on for a good while, whether it be my fitness training business, or whether it be me selling paintings, because I do that too. I paint and sell paintings. Is that you could ultimately do anything you want in life, right? A lot of people have been told they couldn't do stuff a lot of their life. A lot of people have been told that they weren't doing a good job or whatever it may be. And so I want to show people that they can. Like, you don't need permission to be what you want to do, what you want in life when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I wanted to be that example in every sense of the word and deploy Christ everywhere I go with everything that I do.
Yeah. What Sabrina would say in one word, who DonTae Smiley is?
Oh, if she said one word, she would probably, to describe me,
Yeah.
I would say that she was. Let me use two words. If you don't mind, she would just say go getter. Cause I've always been that person. Like ever since she know me, I've just been a go getter. If I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it. Like I'm all in. Like I've told and said no to a lot of situations because looking at the situation or whatever it may be, I knew I wasn't going to want to give my all to it because I didn't want to do it. And if I remotely feel like I don't want to give my all to a situation, or if I remotely feel like I might take a step back or whatever it may be, then I would rather just not do it because my name is on it. And I don't want to tarnish the Smiley last name by not giving everything I can to the situation, because that's not fair to the next person that probably wanted that position in said situation that would have gave their all to it. So I'd rather not implement myself into let next person have it that wants it like that to where they'll give their all, rather than putting myself in that situation. But if she would describe me, she'd be like, no, he's the ultimate go-getter for sure.
Yeah. So starting your book, I saw this story about like you growing up with your
Yep.
parents. How was the part of your life with your mom and dad that took you later in life, for you to remove, disconnect to, you
Yeah.
know, from the hardest part from life?
Right. So when my parents split when I was young, it was obviously hard. Like, I mean, like everybody goes through a lot of stuff as kids one way or another, right? So, sometimes it's divorce, sometimes it's unfortunate abuse, whatever it may be, like emotional distress type stuff. But as hard as that was, my parents did a relatively good job of making sure that like myself and my brother like weren't in the middle of it for the most part. Like we were there when certain situations popped off for sure, but as far as like their strife with each other, they always put us first. Cause I mean, as you read, like I lived with my mom up until I was really about like 12 and stuff. I started staying with my dad a whole lot, and then
And you
when I
decided
was
to go with him, right?
and then yeah, and then one day I was having a conversation with him. I told him I wanted to live with him and be with him. I was just kind of at that turning point of, you know, going from a boy to becoming a man type deal, you know, and just wanted to learn more stuff from my father and be with him. And I was enjoying my time with him and everything that I was learning as a boy from his father. And like he told me straight up that the only way I would be able to live with him is if he filed for custody of me and explained what that was. Like he was like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is how this is going to go. And asked me if I wanted to do it still. Like he was cool with me not wanting to. He was cool, obviously even cooler if I wanted to. And I told him I did. And so he filed for custody of me. And then about 5 days after my 13th birthday in 2001, the papers got fully submitted when my mom received them, and the rest is history. that was a rough day, but once again, I can't put myself in my mom's shoes. Like looking back, right? Like obviously at that time it was hard, and even at the time I held a grudge for a good while on some things that were said during that time. But like now looking back, I can't imagine being a mother who is blindsided essentially because I didn't have the conversation with her, right? Like I kind of knew better, to be honest. But being blindsided by receiving some custody papers when your son is living with you in that very moment, you know, like I literally like she came and picked me up from school that day as she normally did. And like receiving those papers, like how emotionally like hurt she was in that moment to receive that. And then come to find out, because I've always been a truthful person, and she was asking like, why would he do this? Why would he file for custody? And I told her that like I wanted him to, like I wanted to go live with him and all that kind of stuff. Like I say, what she was blindsided by. So she was hurt by it. You know what I mean? And yeah, so like I can't put myself in those shoes, you know. But like I know now that like we have a great relationship now. Like she's a great grandmother to my children, which I love seeing, and I've had to grow myself as well in that instance of allowing her to be in that position that she so deserved, because she's an absolutely wonderful grandmother, regardless of how I feel, what I think, or my perspective on anything from the past. That doesn't have to do with her being a grandmother for the first time, and she's absolutely awesome with my girls, and so is my dad when we go over there. But it was a turn that needed to happen. I needed to be with my dad, and it was 100% the right decision. I don't think I would have learned the things that I learned. I don't think I would have turned out the way that I've turned out, with my worth ethic and just my go-getter mindset. You know, as we spoke on to really develop into that kind of individual without being with my father, because there was a lot of lessons that I learned from him that still hold true and are partially the fabric of who I am today.
Did you think you're living with him, like having the choice yourself, chose that, right? Made you like seeing both sides differently when you moved? I know you were like younger,
right?
But like later on in life with your own family, you know, like seeing back there, but you as a dad today,
right?
Like made like a difference on that for the environment being like a man at that time.
Yeah. So those things can work out a multitude of ways, right? Like you can go the route of going through whatever lesson it is, like at that time, and growing up to becoming a parent as well as myself is now as a father of 2 young ladies. To work in an instance where it's like working against what I learned or using what I learned to work for me because it was good things. There's more on the personal aspect, like the personal, like DonTae aspect of how I operate, that I got from my dad, that really go with me to today, that doesn't have to do with me parenting, just who I am in my work ethic. Because he embedded hard work in me. He embedded, if you want something, you got to be the one to work for it. There are no shortcuts. Don't wait on somebody to pass you the ball to shoot, you know, that kind of stuff. And but from a parental perspective, there's a lot of stuff in the legacy. You know, it's like legacy and generational curses, right? There's that I wanted to change and be different more so as a parent. I saw a lot, and there was a lot that I wanted to change to be different when I parented my kids more so. But my dad was the ultimate sacrificer, and that is one thing that I 100% got from him. I've seen that man pawn jewelry that he had to be able to pay for me to be in a basketball tournament that we might not have had the money for, to make sure I had every opportunity that I could to excel in what it was that I was trying to do, which at that time was, try to get a basketball scholarship and get noticed and all of that. And, I've seen him give the shirt off his back for those situations, you know what I mean? He was going to make sure that I had everything that I needed. He did whatever he had to make sure I had everything that I needed. And that's one major thing as a parent that I did get from my father, 100%, is that ultimate sacrifice of putting the kids first and doing whatever it is that you have to do to make sure they have everything that they need to have, because that's 100% what he did.
Yeah, you took a decision very fast, right?
100%.
That's another thing that I was going to ask, because after a lot of different situations in your life, you took decisions super fast. When you had like intuition maybe, or you like felt like it was right, even if it wasn't, but you just took a decision fast. So do you think that makes a lot of difference in life?
I do, but I partially call that an addictive personality as well. Okay. Like whether the thing pops up and you just jump to go do it. You know what I mean? Because I work a lot on excitement. There's a lot of decisions I made that weren't good because of having that kind of personality, especially in my earlier and mid 20s, even into my later 20s as well. But there's a lot of good stuff that came from being that quick and kind of irrational at times decision maker on certain things. So I don't think it worked for me or against me in a lot of instances. I just think it's kind of like who I was. I'm just smarter about being able to when I feel that kind of weighing out the pros and cons of the situation before just making a decision. Like, I want the decision, but I'm a lot more self-controlled and self-disciplined now, to regardless of how much I may want the thing or go to do the thing or buy the thing or whatever it may be, I'll process it first before just making that full-on decision. Some things maybe not. If I absolutely know I don't need to, then I'm going to do whatever I want to ultimately. But when it comes to like a possible major decision and stuff, I could definitely like weigh it first before just jumping into the thing. Mm-hmm. Unlike I did with Power Slap, because Power Slap came about and I just jumped on that.
Well, we're gonna come back to the rapper part.
Yeah,
that was very interesting too.
Yeah.
Because every single story, like on your book, that it, like at least what we can see is very little from what really like he is in life, right? Yeah, but it's very intense.
Yeah,
I think the rapper part was very intense for your life, because brought you like you already have Sabrina at the time, and she was with you all the time, right? By your side. Yep. Whatever you decide to do, she was there, right? Yep. That was like when you said it was like the being at the right time, the right place at the right time, right? So we met her. But then you went to like the rapper.
Yep.
Season. Let's say season in your life.
It was a long season.
Yeah. What was like that part that people can see it? Like they see like the nice like time that was like I'm making music and like, you know, like being succeeding like on this and that, meeting people. Yep. You travel for like, you probably met like a lot of nice names on that part of your life, right? But what was the dark side that people can see it, you know?
Oh man, yeah. The music business is it's everything that people would want out of it, but also it gives you a lot of stuff that isn't good for you. And what I mean by that is, when like you said, you meet the artists, you do the shows, you travel. I did South by Southwest. I've opened up for major artists. Like, I got to do all that cool stuff, not like with myself, but even with friends, because I had like a group at the time of artists that I was helping, because I had the recording studio, and so I was helping a lot of people record. And I can't necessarily say like I was making it per se, but there was a lot of stuff that was happening in my career that was pointing to an upscale of success, right? Mm-hmm. But the farther that I got into the industry, just let's say the music business, because I don't even think it's just rap, but the music business in general, the farther I got into it, the darker things kind of became, because to really make it, you kind of have to sell yourself to the situation. And when I hear the phrase now, especially looking back, being a spiritual individual, when I hear the phrase like sell your soul, like when it's mentioned that somebody has sold their soul or whatever that means, it's not really like opening up, whatever, praying to Satan and telling him that you will do this for him if you get this or whatever. It's just literally, to me, like selling the fabric of who you are, your moral code, to achieve the thing. And when you start doing that, that's when you're selling your soul for the thing, is when you start giving up who you genuinely are at the core for success to be able to happen. And that's what I was starting to do. The deeper I got into it, the more concessions I made drug-wise and alignment-wise and this and that. And the more I dug deeper into that, I literally got told by a guy one time when I was on a trip to LA. He was like, if you want to make it in this industry, I suggest you try to fit in with everybody else, with what everybody else is doing. And that changed everything. And at that time, just like I wrote in the book, I said at that time, like, I was willing to sell my soul. So I jumped. Like, I'm in there with you if that's the case. If I got to do that to be able to make it, we going to do it. You know what I mean? And but a lot of weird stuff, like, from that point forward, because I think that was the moment where I was really starting to sell myself for the greater gain of success in the music business, because that moment changed absolutely everything on that trip to LA. Because everything after that, more stuff started happening, more major openings for artists, more tour dates started happening, but also I started losing some close friends that were, I got a close friend of mine, that had got murdered, another one that had gotten arrested. Like, I was losing friends, I was losing money on shows, like, all this weird stuff started happening, but like, my career was going here, just everything around me was doing this. Okay. And I recognized that I was like, something's not right about all of this. Yeah, and I didn't know what it was at that time. I do now, obviously. But at that time, I didn't know what it was. I just knew something wasn't right, and it was majorly uncomfortable because I felt convicted in the moment. That was the first time that I realized kind of what conviction really is. And that was without me believing in God at this time. I had no spiritual, religious belief at this time. Like, I didn't believe in God. Like, I was successful because of everything that I did at this time. But I was convicted in that moment, and I felt it. And so I took a step back and just like quit music, period, until about 4 years until I got saved, and then I got back into making music after about that 4-year tenure. But I got involved in the church at that time, and like got saved, and everything changed between those 4 years from when that happened when I was out in LA to the point where I stepped back into the studio for the first time. It was a good 4.5 years of a learning curve, but I had to remove myself because I didn't like what I was feeling. I didn't know what it was that I was feeling. I just knew it wasn't right.
So then you got like something on the kind of, you as you're rising on the like success from like music, everything, a spiritual side, like on the side, like a negative or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's say it was going.
It was dark.
down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was dark.
Because then you went to wrestling after, because you met someone, right?
Right.
And then you start, and it was 7 years. You got like from the beginning of the wrestling style you never did before.
Never.
And in 7 years, you got all those to get on the pro wrestling, like traveling, all those things. That's what like you say, go get it, right? Go get everything.
Yeah.
So you know you can do it.
Like, I call it the rite of passage, right? Like, in the moment, things are negative. Like, but once you get past it and you start looking back at something, it doesn't change the negativity of it, but you also got to look at like how you grew through the situation. We call it grow through what you go through, right? So when those bad situations happen, we can either let the moment define us or we define the moment, and it's all a process of how we grow through those moments whenever that happens. And in 2014, it was like the perfect storm when I quit doing music to finding wrestling. Never had done wrestling before. Like, I was a basketball player, sports-wise, growing up, so not even close to being even like an amateur grapple wrestler. But I've always been a pro wrestling fan, and it just kind of fell into my lap with my buddy Todd Wilson, and I had a podcast that was about wrestling called Yes, It's a Wrestling Show, formerly on Deep Ellum on Air. And we went and did some photography and videography for a company here locally out in like the Fort Worth, Haltom area-ish. Called Metroplex Wrestling, who's actually still around today. I've won titles for the company before, so it's crazy turn of events how that ended up working out. But went and did photography and videography, and we met a chick named Ruthless Lala that night. That's a wrestler name, Ruthless Lala, my girl Tanya. And she gave us a number to my guy, Anthony Black, who became my trainer 3 days after she gave us that number. I messaged Tony. I was like, hey, we got your number, something we want to try out. like, how does this work? What does it look like? And he was just like, come out on Monday. And so we went out on that Monday, and, now 12 years later, the rest is history. I've been all over the world, been on TV, faced some of the biggest names in the pro wrestling industry, became one of them as well, where I'll go to places and people are like, oh my God, man, I watched this match of yours, or I started wrestling because of you, or whatever it may be, which is absolutely insane to me when people say that, like, I was the inspiring part of them wanting to start into the business, because it's what I always wanted to do. But it's different, like, knowing that it's what you want to do and part of the reasoning behind why you operate, and actually, like, being told by somebody that in front of you that you were the reason that they started doing what they were doing.
Yeah. You said you have been in drugs when you're in music before wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get out of that?
God.
Okay.
Like, I don't know any other way. Like, I don't know how other people do it. Some people it's rehab. Some people got to go through the process. Some people fight them demons, unfortunately, for very elongated periods of times when they try to stop.
Do you think you're, like, being in them, like, in the environment that you kind of gave your soul, right? Like, soul.
Right.
How you say that?
Like, sold my soul, yeah.
It's part of that.
No, man, because, like, it's not people just in the industry that, like, a lot of people that I hung out with weren't industry people. They were just people that, like, I was friends with from college, or, like, even fans sometimes, or whatever it may be. And so I think it was just a testament. Like, can you sell the environment? Yeah, 100%. I think some things are obviously a product of your environment for sure. But, like, I don't think that was the thing for me. I think it was just kind of like circumstantial, because it started before that. It just got worse throughout that, because, it started off with just smoking weed initially, and then you try other party stuff, and then you try other party stuff, and then you try other party stuff, and then it just becomes like a cycle, and then you're hiding some of it, and then that, and that's when the problems really become a problem, is when you're hiding it from the people that you're closest to. It's one thing if they know to be able to help you, but when you can work and you're good enough to where you can hide it, and they have absolutely no idea you're doing some of the things that it is that you're doing, that's when you could really tell that it was, becoming a problem. And I didn't recognize that for a very long time, but ultimately I had gotten off a lot of stuff, and then, far removed from music. I was off of stuff for a long time, and then I got injured. I dislocated my foot coaching a client. I was doing some basketball skill stuff. And then the doctors prescribed me some pills, which in college I used to be kind of have a pill addiction. Like, I used to take them for fun to help the high, so to speak, right? And especially in the music business. And so they prescribed some pills, and then me being out, I just got depressed, got suicidal, started taking the pills again to try to numb the pain. Yeah, like, not numb the pain of the dislocation, but numb the pain of what I was feeling here about myself, right? Of how I was viewing myself and who I was, and my ability to be able to provide for my family. And got really suicidal, and had one of probably the worst day of my life at that moment, where I wanted to go through with some stuff, and then I pleaded out to God and felt the presence of the Lord for the first time. Went to church for the first time 2 days later, and haven't left the church now in 9 years.
Let's get back to this. I wanna know this part, when you're, like, at the moment that you decided to take your life.
Like, how I was feeling in that moment?
Yes.
Man, like, depression is very hard to really describe, right? Like that's why a lot of people, they'll be depressed, and they're like, people are like, I feel like you're depressed, I feel like something's going on, and they'll, like, deny it, right? A lot of people that are depressed will deny that they're feeling the way they feel. They just know something's not right, but they don't see themselves as depressed. And but that's kind of how it was. But my self-worth at that moment, where I was feeling what I was feeling, was wrapped up in what I did, or like what I did, in the sense of I wasn't able to do it because I was out with the injury, right? So wrestling was taken away from me. My job was taken away from me. So I wasn't making much money to provide for my household, which, as a man, having a wife and a 11-month-old kid at that time, was weighing down on me. And I just absolutely felt worthless, because what I did and who I was and what I could provide was wrapped up in the coats, as I spoke on earlier, and not like who I am, right? And needing to still just be my best for my family with what I could at the household and all that. And I just felt absolutely worthless. I was speaking things, and the enemy was speaking things to me that I was believing in that worthlessness, and yeah, I didn't want to be around anymore, and I got super depressed, and so I had a bottle of a whole bunch of pills and some liquor, and went to the closet, and I was in the closet crying by myself in my apartment, and because my wife was at work. And I looked up and said, if there is a God, I need you to let me know right now. And that was the moment everything changed, because see, like, I felt the presence of the Lord consume me. It was like somebody just reached into my body, stripped all the hurt, stripped all the non-loving that I was giving to myself, stripped the shame that I was feeling, stripped the self-worthlessness that I was feeling, and stripped, like, literally just reached in and took all that away from me. And I felt as light as I'd ever felt in my life on that day. And so I walked out of that closet, told my wife about what I was feeling and how the state that I was in previously before she got home. And she asked me a very good question, which was simply, what do you think you need to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just know I felt what I felt when I said what I said in that closet, and I don't know where to go from that. And I had a client named Allie, shout out to Allie. She gave me an invite card to Elevate Life Church every single session, or once a week, not every session. She gave me an invite card to church once a week, and I would always throw them away because I didn't believe in God. I was like, I don't need this. Like,
so
I don't
until
need
that
this.
time, you didn't believe in God?
No, not at all.
And you still ask God for...
Correct.
Okay.
But who doesn't do that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's many non-believers that say, oh,
and
thank God. Or whatever it may be, right? And it's not to the moment of the conviction where they feel it and don't ignore it. I can't imagine how many people like thank the Lord or say, Lord, help me, or whatever it may be, just in passing, that don't believe in him, where he's like, I am going to help you, and now feel what I'm trying to send to you. Don't miss this God wink, and they just miss it because they're not looking for it. I was looking for it in that time. I was looking for something, because if it wasn't going to be that, it was going to be something way worse. And so I was looking for something, and he showed up. Like, I challenged him in that moment, and he showed up and showed his face to me in that moment, and I felt it, and I didn't ignore it. Because there's some people that are able to do what I did, and they feel it and don't ignore that conviction or that feeling or whatever it may be that they have in those moments where they call out to God, plead to God, let's say. And there's a lot of people that get the same exact thing and absolutely ignore it and end up missing the mark, unfortunately.
Did you have a kid at this time, right?
Yeah.
You have
my oldest was about 10 months old, 11 months old.
Okay.
Yeah, she was born in January of that year, and this is really, no, she might have been right at a year at this time, because she was born in January of 2016, and this is in January of 2017, so she was a hair over a year old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you went to the church on this from this card, right?
Yep. And yeah, I ended up having an invite card that made it through all the throwing away that was in my wallet for whatever reason. Now I know the reason, but at that time I was like, I don't know how this made it. But I told my wife, I was like, well, maybe we should try this. Since you asked me what I think we should do, I know what I felt in that moment when I said, if there is a God, I need you to show me now. And he did. So I was like, let's try church. Maybe this is what I need. And walked into Elevate Life Church and gave my life on that Sunday. This is literally 2 days afterwards. It was on a Friday where I wanted to commit suicide, and I was having that extremely depressive state. And this is the very next Sunday right afterwards that we went to ELC. And now we're a very integral part of the church and fully submitted to the Lord and his mission on making other disciples and spreading the gospel in the many ways that I try to do it, and extremely involved in the church. My wife is involved, my kids are involved, and so like by that decision, I was able to change my family's legacy forever at that point.
Yeah. And you healed faster than was supposed to too, right? At that time.
Healed?
Yes.
No.
From the injury.
No, not at all. Oh, like from what the doctor said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they told me about 6.5 months to 8 months that it was going to take for that injury to heal. And I came back to wrestling within 3.5.
Yeah.
Like fully jumping, fully moving weight, squatting, lunging, like everything, 100% in about 3.5 months.
Like, I don't know much about wrestling, but I saw like your numbers from the, like on tournaments and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have like the percentage of like wins from all the matches, like it was so high compared to other people that I was looking at. I was like, it's so much more. It's a lot more.
Yeah, I've been blessed with what I've been able to achieve in the pro wrestling business, and the name I've made for myself, and the things that I've been able to achieve, and the places that I've been able to go, and the value that I've been able to get myself skill wise to be able to bring to companies to where they see me as their top guy, to keep me on that winning side of things, of their storylines, or their titles, or whatever it may be. It's just a testament to the work, you know what I mean? And I'm a giver as well. So like the industry has given me a lot, but I've also given a lot to the industry. And I never think in anything in life that you could overgive. There's no such thing as overgiving, right? You could overtake, you could be a taker, right? But when you get to the point where you realize that if you're a taker, like none of what you could take do you take with you when we leave this earth, but everything in which that you are willing to give away is what's stored up in heaven. None of what you take, none of the treasures that were down here and important. That's why I tell young athletes all the time. I'm like, the title wins are cool, going out the country, all the achievements are cool. But how did you change? Who did you change in the game? How did you help change the game? What did you give to the game to make it better? Because ultimately, that's the important stuff. We're not special because we get to be on TV. We're not special because we get to become an international star. We're not special because we get to win titles. Every company has titles. There's hundreds and thousands of wrestlers that get to travel internationally. There's hundreds of wrestlers that show up on TV every single year. None of that makes us special. But what makes you special is getting to the point where when somebody walks up to you, they look you in your eyes and tell you that you are the reason that they started in this business because of who you are. Not what you've achieved, but who you are. I've seen these posts online, and this helped change me, and because I saw you were a Christian wrestler, and this and that, it made me want to get into it and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of people in the industry that aren't. I would say the industry is overloaded with way more people that aren't spiritually inclined, Christians or religious of any sort, whatever, regardless of what their preference may be in that, compared to that are. And so I'm not one of the few, because I would say it's about 70-30 maybe for people like non-believers to believers. The believers are about 30%, and it's growing because a lot more people are now not being afraid of speaking about their spirituality and speaking about their religion and what they believe. And so I love that about the game, and I love that people are finally getting to the point where they don't have to worry about what other people think as far as who they are or what they believe, and just be who you were called to be. And if they don't like you because of it, who cares? If they do like you because of it, cool. But the way it is that the don't care should be the same level ultimately anyway, because you're doing what you're supposed to do, following the scriptures of going out and making disciples and deploying the gospel like we're called to do, and all that kind of stuff. Because you never know what kind of life you could change if you tell people your story, or tell people why you believe, or speak on your testimony, or whatever it may be. Your testimony's got to be unfiltered. That's why I've always been unfiltered about mine, regardless of what kind of fluff I had in my past and that I caused myself, or that was uncalled for, where it happened through outside sources. You know what I mean? 'Cause I didn't control everything. You got your controllables and uncontrollables, and some of it I controlled and brought on myself 100%. Nobody made me take any of the drugs that I took in my past. I chose to do it when it was offered, or whatever it may be. And then there's things that happen, like some of the parental stuff, right? With you seeing parental fights and arguments, or being a child that goes through divorce and stuff like that. When seeing it with the parents and things like that could really hurt some kids at times. You know what I mean? And it did for me for a while, but I grew to understand that, once again, just the past doesn't define you. It doesn't need to define you. You choose to define whatever the situation is, how you want it to define you. And either you're going to press into it and submit to it one way or another, or you're going to grow from it.
Yeah. You got actually the best part of your life to change everything was that worst that happened, right?
For sure.
What did you feel? That's what I want to ask that day, but I want to ask now, because that's what I want to know personally. But I know people are gonna get a little bit curious about that as well. But what was the feeling when you say you felt God that removed that? Because you have a lot of feelings on depression, right? That is down.
Right.
Whoever, like he said, they don't know what it's to be depressed, to the point of like the feeling
Right.
size, right? How was the feeling that you described that was God removing that from you?
So like in that moment when I pleaded out to him, and this is, I'll describe it this way, and it's not the most PC way to describe it, but it's the most realistic way because everybody can relate to it. The lightness that I genuinely felt in that moment of weight literally leaving my body was in the sense of, I describe it as like when we're on a car ride and we have to go pee really bad, but we're in a sequence of the ride where we're like having to hold it and there's nowhere to go right now. Mm-hmm. And then you finally get to the bathroom and you get to release that pee, and just that light feeling that you feel that, finally, right? That weight release. That's what that felt like. It was just like a weight release. Oh, wow. Yeah, I felt 50, 60, 70, 100, 1,000 pounds lighter in that very moment when I pleaded out to him. Because once again, stress, depression, suicidal thoughts, all those negative emotions that the enemy wants us to have in our mind is weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why God wants us to give him our weight. He wants us to cast our burdens onto him and let him handle it and whatnot. And, you know, I didn't know it at that time, but that's what I did, right? And he removed that from me. And once I felt that release and felt that lightness, like I said, that's it, just everything changed from there. And that was a conviction that I couldn't ignore.
How do you describe who we are? Like me, you, as a being and a spiritual side.
Well, from the spiritual side of things, like I'll describe it like this. We aren't who we think we are. We aren't who people think we are. We aren't who we think people think we are, because we are who God says we are, which are heirs to the throne, right? Which are like we're souls living a human experience, not humans. Not in the sense of like humans living a human experience in that way, right? We're souls first, ultimately, right? That's why if you look up the science behind this, they say whenever somebody passes away, they instantly become a little bit lighter weight-wise. It's because the soul leaves the body. And that's why we're a soul living a human experience right now. A spiritual beings living a human experience. And but we're who God says we are in every sense of the word, which he says a lot about us, right? Like, I mean, you can read all through Scripture, and he says a multitude of things about us as individuals and who we are and how we're meant to do great things, and that we are loved and all that kind of stuff. And some people choose to believe it and some people don't, you know. And I chose to believe it because, once again, I realized the fragility of life in itself in that moment when he pulled me out of that closet in that situation, on how quick a decision like that could absolutely change everything. As we know, like, I've unfortunately had friends that have committed suicide. I've had friends that have died from drugs. I've had friends that have been murdered. So I've completely, in my 38 years of life, understood how quick life could change. Right? And when you realize that, it brings something out of you, want to live completely different, and realize like how unimportant most of the stuff that we do really is ultimately. And it makes you want to live different, makes you want to give more, spend more time with your loved ones, spend more time with human connection and just relating, right? Because no telling what kind of story could help somebody else on any given random conversation when somebody is throwing just a meetup somewhere, right? And you happen just to introduce yourself to somebody and y'all share a like-minded mindset like you and I did, when we both realized that we came from something, right? We came from something for something, and the figuring out what we are being increased into in those moments is an ever-going process. Like the process of finding purpose, which is what a lot of humans live their experience for, is like, what's my purpose in this? What's my purpose in life? It's ever going. But when you realize like our purpose more than anything is just to love as unconditional as possible, is to give grace, because we were given the ultimate grace, and we're very imperfect individuals, and we're given stuff that we weren't deserving of by any absolute means when Jesus gave his life on that cross. And then when we give to others, right, we are called to help the sick, we're called to help the poor, we are called to help the needy, we are called to help the disenfranchised, and like whatever it may be, when you're in the position to do so, which in turn we're required and called to help people just in general. It don't matter what state anybody's in, but especially those that need the help and whatnot. And so I realized that, and then it changed how I operate completely, and how I do life, and how I do relationships with individuals, and just not being judgmental and accepting people for who they are one way or another. Doesn't mean I need to agree with what they think. Doesn't mean I need to agree with what they believe. Doesn't mean I need to agree with their lifestyle. Like, none of that. That's not what loving somebody is. Loving somebody is completely different than I always tell people, like, you ain't got to like me. Like, my kids are like, I don't like you right now. I'm like, I don't need you to like me as long as you still love me. Like what is liking somebody? That doesn't matter. You can like somebody or not like somebody, but still love them, which means you'll care for them. You'll help them if they needed help. When you don't love somebody is when you see them in a situation or something, and you're just like, oh, they'll handle it. They'll figure it out. You know, that's how you know you're not leading with love, leading with the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and whatnot, and self-control, and which is an ultimate one, right? Like, all those non-fruits of the Spirit are extremely important to live by. If we're missing one of those, we're missing the mark. Period. Yeah. We're missing the mark on all of it if we're missing it on one of them. And so I just try to live by that, regardless of what I agree with somebody or don't agree with somebody. That way I can still have a relationship with people. Because when we get to the point where if we get to the point to where we don't want to have a relationship with people because we don't agree with something that they possibly believe, right? Like, how can we have growth in that? How can we help them learn our perspective? How can we end up removing ourselves, our right to be right, to learn their perspective, or whatever it may be? When we're not leading with those things, you can't, because that's when somebody gets through with you, they block you on everything and never talk to you again. Yeah. Or where somebody just walks out, slams the door, and don't want to hear from you, don't talk to them about it again. Like, it can't get to that point. The only way you can problem solve is by speaking on stuff. We can have a disagreement, but we need to speak on it, and we don't need to both end up agreeing on it. Like, because sometimes people are set in stone in what they believe. I'm set in stone in what I believe in some things. I know other people are, right? And so when you realize that, at the end of the day, conversations got to be had, because that's the only way that we'll find relationship. That's the only way the world can grow, is if conversations are had. When people, like, I remember one time I had somebody, when I told him my story about my depression, he was like, I've never understood how people can be depressed. Well, great that you haven't had to deal with that yourself or with anybody around you, but I know a lot of people that have been depressed, and this is how, and was willing to have that conversation, even though we didn't initially agree that depression was a thing that somebody should ever do, because in his eyes, life was life, and it was beautiful, and we always grew up in the church mainly, you know, and so he already had that joyous perspective where I didn't have it at that time when I was going through my depression, do now. But also, I don't negate somebody for feeling how they feel with what they're going through, because they experienced it. Like, there's no more truth than what people experience and what people have experienced throughout their life, be it individually or culturally, right? And because there's a lot of things that go on in the world that happen to certain cultures that if you haven't had the experience yourself, there's absolutely no way that you can really relate to it if you're not willing to have a conversation with somebody that has experience. Because a lot of the time people will see those individuals going through what they're going through as a culture or individual and just point the finger and say they don't agree with that, and this is why that should happen to them and whatnot, or whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, but like, go talk to them and see why they feel how they feel, and they won't have that conversation because they don't want to have to change their perspective, because they know the moment the conversation happens, their perspective can be changed in those moments. And some people don't want the opportunity for their perspective to be changed, because they don't want to give up their right to be right in a situation, because they feel right about pointing that finger at whoever it may be or whatever it may be, and don't want to give up that finger pointing situation.
Yeah, that is true. And even when something happens like very similar, the point of view is different,
right?
Because you're not the same person, right? It's like two different people looking at the same thing, but they're gonna have the different point of view.
Correct.
That, right? Do you have any fear about anything? What's like greatest fear or biggest fear?
No, I did at one point in time. But now I can't say, because everything's going to happen how it's going to happen, right? Once again, we control what we control, and we can't control what we can't control. So that's why even when something bad happens, I don't have fear of the unknown, because fear and faith require the exact same thing. It's believing in the unknown. It's believing in something we can't see. So if that's the case and they require the same thing, I'm always going to choose faith over fear.
What about being scared before like a match? Or go to a tournament?
I mean, I got nervous, like nerves of excellence, because I want to perform well, but it's definitely not a fear. Like even that, so let's talk about like the power slap thing real quick. Like I'm gonna jump to that real quick.
Yeah.
So I've had 2 matches with him. Both matches I've been knocked out. Like I'm owing.
I want to put this one actually on there, because I'm gonna ask a question exactly for this power slap thing.
So I'm 0-2 in power slap right now. Both not completely knocked out, unconscious both times. After the first time, the internet had a field day with me. One of the power slap's top 3 most viewed knockouts in their 3 or 4 year history since they've been around. It was my first knockout, my first time getting knocked out. And so everybody on the internet has something else to say. But like I've gotten real good at not letting moments define me and letting them refine me over anything else. Like, so when bad things happen, I don't let those moments define me when the bad things happen, where a lot of people will. I use it to grow. I use it to refine me in every sense of the word, to make me better when it does happen. And so the internet came after me, and a lot of people were like, you shouldn't go back. You shouldn't do this. You're not meant to do this. And you would think after getting knocked out once that somebody would have fear of it happening again. And I don't have fear because I know it can happen again. Like I know how situations can turn out. If there's 2 sides to every situation, which there are, there's going to be a good side of a situation and a bad side of the situation. And when you know that, I think it can take away the fear when you actually understand what can come with either of those sides. You know what I'm saying? And it's like in another sense of the word, right? I did have fear or didn't have fear at one point in time of like when I was doing drugs, for instance, right? There's drugs that I was doing back in my music days that literally killed some of my friends and later in their life because it ended up being laced with something. You know what I'm saying? And all that. And at the end of the day, like, that when you do it, it's everything's okay until it's not okay.
It's not okay. Yeah.
Right? And that's everything. Everything's good until it's not good. Everything can be going well. Like you can play sports and you're averaging so-and-so points a game and you're 80 games into an 82 game season, and then there'll be that one bad game. Everything was good till it wasn't. You can take those drugs and everything be good. But then you might be doing it, let's say smoking, for instance, smoking weed. Like I used to smoke weed because I was like, it helped me chill out. It helped me relax. So it helped me, it helped me do this. It's medicine and all that kind of stuff until it stopped doing that. And then I started getting my fuse got shorter. I was getting angrier a lot more. It stopped doing the thing like that I thought it was doing for me. Because once again, everything is good until it's not. And so, like, I just realized that's just the situation with a lot of stuff. And power slap, wrestling, all of it's the same thing. Because wrestling is scripted at the end of the day. Yeah. Like our names are underlined on a piece of paper in the back on who wins, who loses. We're told, like, everybody knows that now about pro wrestling and stuff. And we don't necessarily rehearse what we do. We talk about it because we got to be in there protecting each other wrestling-wise. But stuff could still go wrong. Like, I fractured my C7 wrestling. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it does. And I've taken that move that fractured my C7 multiple times. Before that, everything was good until it wasn't, because stuff happens. And I just realized that about life, that if when things are going to happen, they're going to happen regardless. You can try your hardest to avoid certain things, and it could still end up happening for a not good way, not good reason, and you still got to be able to do what you need to do to get through it.
What do you think before, like, on this power slap time? What do you think right before you guys lap?
The second time?
Yes.
I was thinking I was going to knock him out. Personally,
Really?
I was like, I had to. Because one thing that's understood, number one, when you knock people out, you typically get more money for a knockout. So, like, I wanted that, But, like, I never, the thing with me, my dad bred it in me to never think negative about yourself. Why would you ever go into something thinking that something bad could happen? Be it loss or being something bad, like an injury or whatever else. So I'll go into zero situations thinking anything bad could happen. Like I think I'm always gonna win until I don't. I think I'm always gonna, if I'm working out and I'm going for a new PR on a lift or something like that, I think I'm gonna get it until that barbell shows me I'm not. But like I never think I'm not going to be able to achieve or do something. I just let the situation prove to me that it's not meant for me in that moment. And then I keep working and then I keep working until one day it'll end up happening. And then if it doesn't, like earlier we talked about me wanting to wrestle in Japan and that probably being the one thing on my bucket list that I'll never get to do, it's okay. I've achieved everything else. Me not achieving that one thing doesn't negate my career. It doesn't define my career. It doesn't add a blemish on my career. Yeah. It's just the one thing that didn't happen. Because I have all this stuff over here still that people pray and wish and will give their left kidney for to be able to do and achieve that I've been able to do.
And what was the feeling after you came up from that knockout?
I was like, dang, why am I on this hospital bed? No, like that. I mean, that's how it is. Like getting knocked out, it's like you're there, then you're not. You know,
you just were like out.
Yeah, like
you don't remember anything you didn't have. You didn't go to another.
No, like I'll go back and
anything.
see the full videos that Power Slap will release, and I'm like, oh, okay. So like I woke up on the stage and I'm talking to the people, but I definitely was not home when I was talking to them. So
oh my gosh.
And yeah, because like I remember like it happened. Like you don't know that it happened per se until you wake up, right? Because you're out. And then I was getting taken by the EMTs because anytime you get knocked out, they make you go get a CT scan to make sure there's no damage to the brain and all that. So shout out to them because they take absolutely great care of all the athletes, like pre and post matches for Power Slap.
Oh wow!
And like I remember like I'll wake up and be like, dang, it happened again. Like that's it. That's literally what I told the EMTs. They're like, yeah, you took a good shot this time, buddy. Like, but it is what it is. But I never go into matches thinking I'm gonna lose or the same thing is gonna happen. Like I always think the best of myself, and that's what I teach to my kids as well. That's what I teach to other wrestlers and people that are trying to achieve anything. Like I can't stand negative self-talk. That is probably my greatest pet peeve amongst people that I do life with. I could be listening to a stranger's conversation, and if they say something negative, I'll butt into their conversation. Be like, don't say that about yourself. Like you better than that. And so yeah, like I don't put up with that, you know. But I realized like how many people didn't have somebody in their life like my father was to me to be like, you can absolutely achieve anything that you want to. You just got to work for it, you know. And even then, it's not a bad thing if it doesn't happen because you gave your all. If you give your all, you'll never have anything to hang your head down about, even if it doesn't work out, because you tried your best. At our church, we call it, don't let good be robber of the best. Like there's good and then there's the best. And we always want to be working for the best. Not that good is bad, but if you can always be better in a situation, it's always your duty to try to be better in that said situation.
Do you have any kind of thing yourself that you do before, like on the Power Slap, like preparing yourself, something that you do, or even like tournaments or anything that you go to compete?
I'm extremely relaxed.
Oh really?
But yeah, even before my first, because like I'm where I'm supposed to be at. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I wasn't and hadn't already shown that I was supposed to be in that position. And because of that, I'm good at what I do, and I know that because I'm the one in the position being able to do the thing. And so I have that ultimate belief in me. So like I'm like people can't stand me in wrestling locker rooms because I joke a lot. Like I'm a comedian all the way up until about 30 minutes before the match, and then I kind of get serious and get in my zone and people stop bothering me, and that's when I'm in prayer and we'll start listening to music and stuff like that. But like, you know, before that, I'm extremely relaxed because once again, I understand and have gratitude for the position that I get to be in, that I get to be the one that wrestles on that show, that I get to be the one that's slapping in that match, that I get to be the one that's on that stage or whatever it may be, because there's a lot of people that would love to have that position and they don't, and I get to. So my joy, no nerves, no fear, no nothing. I just have joy for the moment and have gratitude for the moment because I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in that moment doing what I'm doing.
There's some part of your book you did a comment saying that I am a human machine. It's kind of this phrase talk about like I know it can do anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you just said that like a human machine.
Yeah.
So that's how like you feel about yourself for any time you compete, probably, right?
Yeah.
And you think that your dad was really like big part of that, like telling you like you can do anything, that growing up?
He was my ultimate motivator. He was the biggest fan. Like outside of my daughters now, like my dad was my biggest fan. Like now that I have daughters, they're my biggest fans. They absolutely love watching me do everything that I do and stuff. But my dad was my first number one fan. Like when it comes to that kind of stuff, he didn't miss a game. He would miss work before missing a game. He was at everything, at every practice. He coached me during summers when it was called for him to coach, and he always did nothing but tell me how good I was, and always required me to put in the work to prove it though as well. He didn't let me take any shortcuts. He didn't let me get lazy in anything that I do. He was like, you want to be the best? Once again, I play basketball. He was like, you want to be the best? You got to wake up early, be the first one to the gym, be the last one out. So I was always the first one to the gym. I was always the last one out. Summer, spring, winter, fall, every season of the year, that was me. I was in that gym working. And that's why I was able to achieve and do what I was able to do with that. And once again, everything afterwards. It's like in wrestling, on the side of my tights at one point in time when I was still wearing long tights, I had the initials of hardest worker in the room, that HWITR, hardest worker in the room, because I firmly believe that. I don't think when it comes to the total package or whatever the total package may be, right? Everything to do on the outside or inside of the ring and in life in general, I firmly believe that about myself, that I'm one of the hardest worker in the rooms when it comes to try to achieve whatever the thing is that multiple people are trying to achieve, because I know I'm willing to do the small stuff. A lot of people aren't willing to do the small stuff. And I'm willing to do the small stuff that is required in that situation to see success happen.
Mm-hmm. Which coat do you wear today?
I mean, right now I'm wearing my podcast guest coat, but but I mean, I still wear the coat of the things that aren't a coat of me being a husband, me being a father, and also me being a disciple for Christ. Those aren't coats. Those are the fabric of my being. Those are in the DNA. Those are who DonTae is. The coats I wear are wrestling. The coats I wear are power slam. The coats I wear are fitness trainer. Like none of that stuff defines me. It's just accessories to who DonTae is more so, not who DonTae is.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about like I like to talk about coats because I like lately I used to put it like some, like I say, like hats, like like wearing hats differently, because I started like thinking about like how we can really define ourselves sometimes when like not ourselves as a spiritual being, right? But what do you want to be today? What do you want to be for success? What do you want to be? Because you're gonna be the same, right? But sometimes you need to get like over some, like you go to the tournament, you have to put your ego like higher a little bit, because you're like, I want to win. I'm competing. I want to win. So it's the ego part, right? For sure. Of course, other people just like, oh, I don't like compete or anything. But you get like those hats, or you call coats, right? When you go to the tournaments, now Power Slap is like, I have no idea how you can do that. I cannot even watch it.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
And then, because it makes me like thinking about you train for like being strong in wrestling, but in your face, you're going to slap in your face. It's like, it's more mental, right? Yeah. Than physical, because you don't train your face. You don't train to get like strong on your neck and your like.
You're not letting people slap you for fun or prep for a match. Correct. Right.
It's super mental. Like me, like I can watch, but just realizing you there, doing that kind of thing, and people, you have to be like vulnerable to yourself, and you talk about that, like being vulnerable. What that represents in your life that you would share to people about the spiritual change?
Yeah, when you're vulnerable, it's the most, like, vulnerability is one of the most courageous things that you can be, which is why a lot of people don't do it, because a lot of people fear what someone else may say. Like, I was talking to my wife about this long ago. I genuinely don't care what people think about me, have to say about me, because I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know who I am in Christ. I know what I bring to situations that I do in life. I know how much I give. I know the sacrifices I make. So nobody has the right to tell me who I am. Because number one, God already does it, and I know the truth that is in that, what I bring to the table. And so that's what helps me with when it comes to my spirituality and being vulnerable, is because if you can't be truthful to God, which you could be truthful to him, because no human other person needs to be around for you to do that. It could just be you and you, only you in your car riding in silence. If you can't be truthful to God about what you're going through, how in the world is anyone, including yourself, going to expect you to be fully truthful with individuals that are around you and have that vulnerability if you can't be vulnerable with God? But and also in the same instance, when you can be vulnerable with God and know whose you are in him in those situations, and who he called you to be and who he tells you are, and understanding what he gave you, which is ultimately his life on the cross as far as Jesus goes, for us to be forgiven for our sins, for us to reveal to us the ultimate love, ultimately is what he did as well. Then it's going to be hard for you to be vulnerable to anybody else. You know what I mean? Because you don't understand how much you've been given to be able to give. When you understand how much you've been given, it's easy for you to give to other people. It's easy for you to be truthful, because I don't think there's anything stronger than somebody's testimony given to another individual, because too many people try to compare testimonies and hardships, which that to me, that's not a thing. Like, there is no scale. It's like saying that like sins are on different levels. Like, some people like, no, there's levels of sin, and some people like, no, like a sin's a sin. Whether it's a sin of lustful eyes, whether it's a sin of you actually cheating, those are the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, some people like, no, like lustful eyes and actually cheating on your significant other are two completely different levels of sin. Whereas like, people will weigh that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's kind of that same thing in the instance when it comes to like testimonies. I don't weigh testimonies because everybody's hardship or thing that they went through was that hard for them. And it's all just, once again, perspective. Like, we're not comparing them. It's just like, your heart was your heart. Mine is mine. Your heart, the hardest part that you may have had, not you, but the individual, may have been losing that $100 bill one time, but everything in life has gone good for you. You know what I'm saying? Where somebody else's heart is, maybe they lost both of their parents in a car accident. You know what I mean? We'll view those horrors extremely differently because both of them are hard, but we don't know what that $100 was to that person. That may have been their last 100 that they had to provide for their daughter. That may have been the last one they had for their household to be able to do whatever it may be, right? That could have been the last one, and they ain't getting paid for a whole nother week and got to figure out how to go through life. Hard is hard. It's all perspective. And it's not our duty to compare them. It's our duty to, once again, conversate and meet in the middle and help each other get through whatever hard it is that the individual has gone through. And the only way we can do that is if we're truthful in the testimony and have an unfiltered testimony. You can't, I call it the NDA clause on the testimony. You can't have an NDA on your testimony where you keep certain things out.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to give your testimony and not shortchange what God can do for an individual, you have to be vulnerable in those situations. You have to be courageous in those situations. You have to speak the unadulterated truth of Scripture and what God has done for you. The only way you can really speak fully on what God has done for you is if you lay it all at the cross on what you've done, what you're going through, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and so on and so forth to its completest extent. Not actually like filtering this because you think it may make that person uncomfortable, or keeping this out because you don't want them to know this one little thing about you and judge you because of that. People can judge me all they want to, because ultimately when I die, their judgment ain't gonna matter. Only his is. And that's why I don't care about being extremely vulnerable like I am in a lot of situations. That's why I don't care about what people think, because ultimately when it's all said and done and my time is called, none of what anybody thinks on this earth is gonna matter. It's just gonna be a testament of how I lived my life. Did I live my life in the most appropriate and way that I was supposed to for Christ? And then he's the only one that gets to judge me when it's called anyway.
Yeah. Do you believe there are chosen ones?
Do I believe that there are chosen ones? In what sense?
For God?
Like, I think everybody is chosen ultimately, right? And what I mean by that is we are all called at the end of the day to number one, have a relationship with him. And also, at the end of the day, there's certain things about us in our life that he's calling everybody to do to advance his kingdom. Once again, it's like I talked about earlier with people recognizing when they have that conviction to do the thing, like, do they recognize it to be able to do it? We're all God's chosen people at the end of the day, supposed to advance his kingdom and live our life according to his principles and his standards. But at the end of the day, some people choose to do it and some people don't. So in the world of the kingdom, do I believe there's a chosen one? If there was a chosen one, it would just be Jesus Christ. But like at the end of the day, can we feel called and chosen to be used as a vessel, so to speak, to advance his kingdom 100%? But we all are at that point. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of how that looks. Everybody has different platforms, so to speak, to be able to do that. It is recognizing the platform and then actually doing it.
Yeah. There were like any trap circumstances like that chased you back after you started living true to yourself with God or spiritually, you know? There's still a trap that you feel like sometimes that, you know, when you're close to your goals,
right.
You're close to your like, oh, my path is that, like I know I'm in the right way. We always get like some pressure, right?
Right.
So you can see that like anything today?
I think like anything great comes with pressure at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But with that pressure, right, you could react to that kind of stuff one or two ways. Either you could be self-controlled under pressure, or it's kind of like there's respond versus react clause, right? Like some people react, which is like a quick reaction, it happens and then they rapidly do it, or you can respond to it, which is where you're able to take a step back, breathe, and figure out the situation how it's supposed to be figured out. And I think when it comes to any kind of pressures, right, we're not supposed to react to the situations unless it's like a distress situation, and even then we still have to make the right calculated movement if it's like danger, for instance, right? We have to just kind of react in those situations. Sometimes you don't have time to respond, but very rarely is it to that extent. But like anytime under pressure, we're supposed to make sure that we respond to it in the right manner, and how people do that looks differently at the end of the day. But we all feel pressure with anything great. I feel pressure of wanting to exude excellence, not be perfect, but exude excellence in the sense of I've given everything I've absolutely had to give to better this situation, better this person, better this outcome. And even if it doesn't happen, it takes nothing away from what I gave to the situation. And too many people try to be perfect in situations, and very rarely is perfect a thing. Like, you might get 100 on a test. Okay, yeah, that's a perfect score, right? You know, but when it comes to achieving things in life, like the major things and going through life, very few things turn out perfect, per se. You know, but when you exude excellence, the things can still turn out right. And so I operate through excellence in everything that I do, because it keeps me working how I need to work, and it keeps me operating at a higher mindset and a higher standard, which standards are what you allow from other people and what you allow from yourself. Is no different than those individuals that they go shopping and they go put their groceries in their car, and then they leave the basket in the parking space next to them. That's not operating through excellence. That's not operating with good standards. Those are low standards. You know what I mean? That's not excellence, because now you're putting more work on somebody else when you should have done your simple humanly job to put it back. Well, now you put it require on somebody else to where they're going to have to move it, or you keep somebody from getting a spot, or whatever it may be. And so I operate on excellence. Like, I'll be going through stores, like picking up trash sometimes, or see trash somewhere that it ain't supposed to be, and pick it up and clean up sections that I don't even sit in if I see it, or whatever, or push a cart back that wasn't meant for me to push back because it wasn't my cart. And that's just a minor thing, right? That's just a worldly thing that everybody can relate to. And so I operate in that way differently than anything else. And me doing that allows the pressure that I could feel to stay a lot lower than what some others may feel in those situations.
There's anything you're like working yourself still that you, as a man,
Like personal growth
Yeah.
stuff? Oh, I'm always personal growing because we could always be better. We could always be better. Like, I mean, that's no different, no different than situations than why we do masterminds and go to meetups to meet people to advance stuff. That's no different than the reason why I go to my men's discipleship program. It's all personal growth. Like, when you want to be great and you want to stay progressing, God didn't put us on this earth to be mediocre and only go here. Right? He wants great things out of everybody to advance his kingdom. The higher that I can get myself as far as success, right, the more reach I know I'll get. That's what I loved about Power Slap. Regardless of what happened on that stage, which everybody and their mama knows the outcomes of both of those two matches, as I've talked about. I got knocked out both of them. But the platform, when those individuals come look at my pages, when they're like, who's this DonTae Smiley guy that got knocked out? And they go look stuff up, they're like, oh, he's a wrestler. Oh, he has a ministry. Oh, let me follow him on Instagram. And they see my spiritual posts and biblical scripture and all that kind of stuff. And that's what it's about to me. So we're all meant to become as great as possible, because us becoming great as possible gives us the most reach. When we have more reach, that's more people, at least in my phase on how I'm living my life and what I'm trying to do, that people will receive Christ in the way that I'm able to deploy it to them.
Yeah. So you're like really on Power Slap now. So we're going to be into that.
Well, I'll be surprised if I get, like, Power Slap booking works there. Like, we don't book ourselves for it. They got to book us for the stuff. And I'm actually one of the older guys that are on the roster. Like, the roster is actually very young. I was one of the older guys that they gave an opportunity to. So, like, we don't know when we'll get booked. We don't know if we'll get booked again. None of that. At some point, when it comes to the Power Slap thing, especially being knocked out twice, it's one thing where, like, I'm the type person where, like, I'm always optimistic about myself. I'm like, okay, I've been knocked out twice, but, like, the second match, it didn't happen as quick. So, like, the third match, like, it might be the one,
Yeah.
but also in the same instance, I got to look at it as a health perspective, right? Like, our bodies are meant to be steadily getting knocked out and stuff like that. They got to look at it from a health perspective as well on, okay, like, this guy's 38. He's 0-2, been knocked out both of his matches so far. Is it conducive, and does it help us to keep booking him?
Yeah.
And does it help us in that situation? Or does it help us help him in the situation even? Because I'll be my worst enemy and get back out there and do it. You know what I mean? But sometimes you got to just kind of be smart, take the losses as they are, and, keep it moving. So we'll see. I don't know.
Being delusional.
Yeah,
You
it's
say
okay.
about that.
Right.
Right? Being
Yes.
delusional.
Right.
How do you define yours and others people's, like, universe in this being delusional?
Yeah, like, I'm extremely delusional myself. Like, once again, but, like, you have to be to achieve great. Like, nothing great anybody has achieved has to come at the whim of being delusional somewhat. And the reason I say that is because somebody probably told them not to. Very rarely does somebody say they want to achieve this great thing, and everybody around them and everybody that hears it is like, oh my God, I know you can do that. Like, some people are like, dog, like, do you know how hard that is to do that? And that's where the delusion comes in. To me, it doesn't matter how hard it is. Do you know who I am? Do you know how hard I'm willing to work? Do you know how much I'm willing to sacrifice? And that's where that delusion comes in, and I live through that. And once again, I make the thing prove to me that I can't do it first before just assuming myself that I'm not going to be able to do the thing.
Yeah. There's people
Prove it.
just delusional. It's interesting word, right?
Yep.
Because some people get it wrong.
Right.
In the way, like, no, you have to be, like, realistic.
Yeah.
There's no real thing. If
Correct.
you believe you can do it, just go do it, right?
Like, what? Like, I can't imagine what somebody like Elon Musk telling people that he was going to create these fancy electric cars,
Yeah.
or his little space thing that he told the people, and they're like,
It's crazy.
what? They're like,
Yes.
And he's like, no, like, he has this board of, like, numbers and objects. It's like, I can't imagine how that meeting went when he started having these ideas, and how people, when he would try to pitch them, and like, I'm going to do this, and they were like, oh my God, yeah, that seems simple. Like, nobody said that.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, yo, like, this is the most, like, you're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, but
And now,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you got to be crazy like that.
we got, like, there's a lot of stuff in this book. It's small, but there's so much stuff.
Small but mighty.
Like, we talk about frequency too, and then I want to, like, every single part of your life was different frequency, right?
Correct.
So I'll be back on the I'll get back on to the music part, right? Because you have all this energy you said, like, oh, I felt like the energy wasn't right.
Yep.
So you were like in the frequency wasn't supposed to be for you
Yeah,
in
something
your
was
life
off.
at the time, right?
Right.
You remove yourself from there, and then we went to like podcast and then wrestling from that, right? Because it
Right.
started from the podcast,
Correct.
and then you were power slap right now.
Correct.
But even though it's crazy for me thinking about doing something like that,
Yep.
because it's too much on my view.
I get it.
Right? Even to watch, right?
I get it.
But your frequency, this superhuman machine, it makes sense on the frequency. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you get over and over and over to yourself.
Right.
You just beating yourself every time.
Right.
You just believe it and you just do it. So how the frequency you went through, like from one thing in life to another one, get to meet different people. How do you put that together? How do you say that today?
Oh man, it's just a smorgasbord of life, right? Like just a smorgasbord of life, because like everything, like it's alignment before assignment, right? Like you're aligned with who, like you like I don't ask for a lot of stuff out of people. Through alignments, people know stuff about me where they're like, hey, I got this thing, so I think you'll be a good fit for it. That's how a lot of my life has ultimately worked out. I mean, wrestling worked out that way. Like we did the photography and videography for MPX. We met Ruthless Lala. She was like, y'all are in shape and look like y'all can wrestle. I know this guy. That guy became a trainer. We started wrestling 12 years now, been doing the thing. Through my alignments in wrestling, I met a guy named Sin Bodie. We ran a seminar together one time, and Sin got hired by Power Slap. And Sin was like, I know this guy DonTae. He'll be a great fit for this. He called me, hey, DonTae, I got something for you. You want to make a lot of money doing yada, yada, yada? I was like, sure, that sounds great. I get to hit somebody? Sure, why not? You know I got to possibly be hit too, but... And so everything works out how it's supposed to be working out. I haven't been called into a lot of stuff that I wasn't meant to be called into to try. And so like it's just like the flow of life is the rhythm, right? The frequencies and stuff. And if the frequency is not there, and I always give like, you know, you got to like the two knobs in the radio waves. You got to like tune them right. And so to be able to get on the same wavelength, if it's off, right, it can feel off and everything won't go right. And so, like, I've just been real good at making sure that my life has gone how it's supposed to. I squeezed the lemon of life, you know what I mean? And I think it's important because I don't think a lot of people do that. Is squeeze the lemon of life, meaning get as much out of it as you possibly can. Go do the thing you've always wanted to do. Go play guitar if you want to play guitar. Yeah. Go buy studio equipment if you want to start singing. Go, whatever their thing is, right? Yeah. Oh, you want to wakeboard, never been wakeboarding? Go do the thing. Go buy a wakeboard. Find a friend with a boat. Go rent a boat. Figure out how to do whatever it is. It could be on a great scale, a little scale. You want to start a business? Start it. Want to start a podcast? Start it. A lot of people don't squeeze the lemon of life enough to do the thing because, once again, they haven't been told by somebody habitually, at least as I have, that they can. If you want to do it, go do it. You could achieve it. Just be willing to put in the work and don't make a mockery of you trying to do the thing because somebody else out there wishes that they have the privilege to be able to do the thing that will work twice as hard to be able to do it if they had the same opportunity you did.
Yeah. Imagine you're having this cup of coffee in 10 years from now. What would you need to happen? What would need to happen for you to smile and say it was all worth it?
To smile and say it was all worth it would be that anytime in 10 years, you said, right? In 10 years, my daughters will be young adults, and I want anybody that they talk to still cherish their father with a childless-like mindset like they do right now. And for my wife to speak on me like I'm the best husband in the world. And for people to have told me, or even if they don't told me and they know that they came to Christ because of something that I posted or something that I said, or the way, even more so, that I lived my life and was the kingdom example by the way that I lived more than anything. It was like, hey, we saw DonTae make them changes, so I know that I can make them too, and really feel the presence of the Lord themselves, how I've been blessed to be able to feel it. If those things are said, more than anything, I know I've lived a life that was ultimately like worth living. Oh, DonTae gave, DonTae did this, DonTae did that, because that's the important stuff. We can't, all that we can take with us when we die is that in which we gave away. And whatever I leave on earth, legacy wise, where people are speaking on it years after I'm gone, which God, I hope it's not in 10 years, but ultimately, we know tomorrow's not promised today. But long well after I'm gone, if people are speaking on how I helped them and changed their life because of something that I did and gave to them one way or another, I've done my job.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Success is fleeting.
Yeah.
Success is absolutely, achievements are fleeting. You know, it's the whole running your race clause. It's like athletes are disciplined in their training. We're disciplined in our kingdom mindset because all that we can take with us ultimately is those of eternal life. Everything here is going to perish at the end of the day. All the achievements, trophies are going to be thrown away, medals are going to be thrown away, records are going to be broken. None of that stuff matters because it's all fleeting at the end of the day. All that we can take with us is that in which we gave away while we're on this earth. And that's why I try to be just the ultimate giver and everything and the ultimate lover more so to make sure I'm just touching people how I'm meant to touch them in the ways that God has called me to do.
Wow. DonTae, I know I could ask her so many more questions. We stay talking for hours and hours, right? We're going to do this more. But if it's someone that to work with you, that wanted to work with you, support your mission. Just leave your contacts, how to find you.
So, I mean, I always tell people I'm easily Googleable. Like you Google the name, obviously, and then also like all my social media is a D Smiley Warrior. Ultimately, D Smiley Warrior. You can find me Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DonTae Smiley, Google DonTae Smiley. Everything will come up. Y'all will see everything that y'all want to see. As far as you can find the book, you can find any other podcasts that I've been on, find my wrestling stuff, find my power slap stuff, find my trading stuff, find my ministry work, everything that is about DonTae Smiley. For all the coats I wear, you can find by typing my name into Google or just follow me, D Smiley Warrior.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For you being here today. And I really appreciate it. I really love your story and your book too.
Yes.
I will ask another question for you to sign it for me.
Okay, I got you.
And for everyone who was watching this first episode of Coffee with Susanna, share it with someone that needs to hear everything we share here with you. It was a really nice story. And we are going to see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.